Shalom, dear Talmidim. I am so sorry that I cannot be there with you today, and I'm glad that at least I can teach Torah while I am gone through this medium of the video. Okay, so we're going to be, this is the second Chumash video that you should be watching. This is on this week's Sedra. This week's Sedra is? Can't hear you. Get it? Okay, it's Pekudei. So we're going to be, I'm in a weird mood, I'm sorry. So we're going to be doing Pekudei. This is on your source sheets. This is Sedra sheet SE206, the Sedra Pekudei. And we're going to be looking at a pasuk in this week's Sedra. Okay, and the pasuk says like this. Veichas ha'anon es ohel moed, chvod Hashem malei es mishkan. This is actually two psukim, going on to the pasuk Lamed Hey. V'lo yachol Moshe lavo ohel moed, ki shachin alav ha'anon, v'chavod Hashem malei es mishkan. And so what's the pasuk saying here? Pasuk is saying that this is after Moshe builds the Mishkan. Right, Moshe goes out, and now the Mishkan is built. It's all ready to go, brand spanking new Mishkan. And Moshe Rabbeinu goes out, and now he goes to the Mishkan. He goes inside, and he's about to go inside to the Mishkan, and all of a sudden, this massive cloud comes down over the Mishkan, and Moshe can't go inside. Okay, and it says that the Kvod Hashem, like the glory of God, whatever that means, filled the Mishkan. Now, what's our problem with this? If you remember when we were outside in 90-degree heat, looking at the new gymnasium that went up, which I claim is still going to be the new Beit Midrash, and just the administration hasn't figured it out yet. But that when we claim that the new Beit Midrash was being built there, right? And we talked about the idea of HaKadosh Baruch Hu not being physical. That it's impossible for Hashem not to be physical. And that's why when it talks about building a Mishkan, or it talks about building a Beit HaMikdash, and or building a Beis Knesset, or Beis Medrash, and we say that, right, that what does it mean that Hashem's Shechina rests there? This is the same idea. We're going to repeat some of the similar concepts in order to gain an understanding of this week's Sedra. So here we have a question of, what does it mean that the cloud and the glory of God filled the Mishkan, so much so that Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't go in? What does that mean? Imagine a cloud goes in. Is that really HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What does that mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't be physical, nor can there be any physical manifestations of God. I want to make sure that this is so clear in your mind. Okay? There is no such thing. It's impossible, 100% impossible for HaKadosh Baruch Hu whatsoever to make himself physical, to come down to this world in a physical form, to limit himself and shorten himself. It's impossible. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is perfect. There is no sense ever, at any time, at any point, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming down in a physical manifestation. Not in a cloud, not in a frog, not in a person we'll call Jesus, nothing. That's not God. It's impossible, and there's no physical representation of God. We don't have God inside of us. There's no time ever that there is a physical representation of God. Okay, I'm sure I'm making this clear, but I just want you to understand that. So when the pasuk says that a cloud came down and the glory of Hashem filled the Mishkan, what are we talking about? What does that mean? Okay, so that's our question. Now the Rambam has a telling line. Listen to this line; it's so important. It talks about the Temple Mount. If you don't know what that means, that's Har Moriah, Har Habayis. That's where you see the gold dome today. Rewind 2,000 years. What was there instead of that gold dome? There was a Beis HaMikdash. Right? That's where the Beis HaMikdash stood. Where the gold dome actually was where the Kodesh HaKodashim was. The greatest part, the most sanctified part of the Beis HaMikdash was right where that gold dome is. Okay, so the Rambam says as follows. The Rambam says, Kedushas HaMikdash v'Yerushalayim b'bnei HaShechina v'Shechina eina batla. The Kedusha, the sanctity of the Beis HaMikdash and Yerushalayim, what generates its sanctity? What makes Yerushalayim sacred? What makes it Kadosh? The answer is the Shechina. Because, right? What does that mean? So this is a difficult question. What does it mean, the Shechina? It means, what we're going to say is God's manifest presence. It doesn't mean God's presence, because presence connotes physicality, and God has no physicality. So what it means is, it's God's manifestation. That means that God does something in this world, creates something in this world that He has created. So the Shechina is that idea. We're going to explain exactly what it is. The Shechina eina batla. When the Shechina is shora, when the Shechina is manifest in a certain place, it can never be nullified. right? V'hari omer v'shamtias mikdashechem, right? The pasuk says, "I'm going to lay waste to your sanctuaries," meaning Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, right? And it says, "V'amru chachamim afa pi sheshomim b'kedushasan him omdim." So even though the place was destroyed, it still stands in its original kedusha, right? It still stands. It's an original sanctity. That's the idea. Okay, so it's still in its original sanctity, and even though there's no Beis HaMikdash there, that place still has its kedusha because the Shechina was shora there, because the Kadosh Baruch Hu manifested himself in some form there. We're going to explain what that means, how he manifests himself. Now the Rashbam says something so fascinating here. Look what the Rashbam says. It says B'shas HaKamoso Ki Shachin Elav Hanan Miyad. Right? This is when Moshe built the Mishkan. The Shechina came immediately. Immediately the Shechina was shora. Why? Laharos chibasol shal Kadosh Baruch Hu al Yisrael, to show how cherished the Jewish people were to Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's a little funny to us. Why? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu can't cherish anything. Cherishes an emotion. Because Hashem's not physical, he can't have emotions. Emotions are manifestations, are I shouldn't say manifestations, but they're reflections of something physical. Something physical can have emotions, something not physical can't have emotions. Kadosh Baruch Hu is not physical, he can't have an emotion. So therefore, what does it mean when the Rashbam says that Kadosh Baruch Hu manifested himself, that Kadosh Baruch Hu had the cloud cover the Mishkan, and he was manifest his divine presence? What does it mean when that happened immediately in order to show that he cherished Bnei Israel? Now we're confused about two things. One, what does it mean that Kadosh Baruch Hu manifested his Shechina there, right, with this cloud? What does that mean? And number two, what does it mean that Kadosh Baruch Hu cherished us? Both, right, what that shows that Kadosh Baruch Hu cherished us. Both of them have problems in terms of, we're confused by two things. Both of them seem to give some sort of physicality towards God. Okay, that's the question. So that's our issue. So the question we have to have is as follows. Okay, we have like three questions here. What does it mean that the divine presence rests somewhere? Right, that we discussed somewhat when we talked about the kedusha, the Beis Knesset, and the Beis Medrash, and the Beis HaMikdash, and the Mishkan. We talked about that at the construction site. What is it? What's so special about each case where it talks about it? And what does it mean when Hashem cherishes us? What do those ideas mean? Look at this Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, you can read it on your own, and I'm sure you have earlier in the week. But the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says that when two people learn together, the Shechina is shora there. And then it goes on to say that even when one person learns there, the Shechina is shora. What that means, just to give you an idea, is yes, in the Beis HaMikdash the Shechina was shora. Yes, in the Mishkan the Shechina was shora. But right now, amongst us watching this video and me making this video, the Shechina is shora right here. Now I don't see any cloud. I don't see anything blocking the screen here. Right. So what are we talking about? What does that mean? So the answer is as follows. Okay. It means, and we somewhat discussed this at the site, but what it means is that the divine presence resting means that there we can understand God. When it says that God manifests himself somewhere, it means that in that place we can understand him. Okay? That's what the ultimate manifestation of God's presence is. It means that we can understand God there. It's a place, right, like the Mishkan, where we gather to understand Hashem. Okay, Beis HaMikdash is the same way, and as we explained, so is the Beis Medrash, and so is the Beis Knesset. Right, it's a place where we gather to understand Hashem. When Hashem is manifest somewhere, what that means is that we can understand Hashem better. It's not that Hashem does X, Y, and Z, and therefore we can understand him. The process can happen a different way. The process can happen by me understanding something about Hashem, then the Shechina is shora. And that's exactly what we're talking about, right? By me understanding Hashem, now the divine presence rests amongst us. Right, so now it's not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did something, and therefore now the divine presence rests amongst us, and now I can understand him. It goes the other way. Right? Here's the amazing thing. It goes the other way. It's now that I'm learning about God, now the Shechina is shora here. How does that show that Hashem cherishes us? Hashem doesn't cherish us because He doesn't have emotions. When we say Hashem cherishes us, it's us talking and how we assume Hashem, it's how we understand Hashem to act. So, what are we talking about? Let's lay our cards out on the table. When somebody does something nice for me, if my math teacher gives me an understanding of something that I didn't get, and they essentially hand me the steps. They say, listen, here's your problem, just do 1, 2, and 3, and then you'll get it. And you're like, whoo, I got it, now I can do well on my test. So when you say, why would my math teacher do that for me? They must like me. If they didn't like me, they wouldn't help me out that much, right? So it's a sign of we can understand now, right? It's us projecting onto God. So what do we say here? We say, Kadosh Baruch Hu is Shoreh Hishchina. Kadosh Baruch Hu rests His divine presence amongst us. That must mean that He likes us. It's us trying to understand Hashem. So, in the case that the Rashbam is describing, when Hashem goes ahead and he is right away, right after they build the Mishkan, immediately Hashem Shechina Shoreh. What does that show? Bnei Yisrael understands that we built this for God, and God approved of this. And therefore, what we translate that is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu must cherish us. It's not what we're saying. What we are saying is, what must be actually happening here is that we've done good. We describe that as the fact that Hashem cherishes us. Hope that was clear. If not, rewind and watch it again. Okay, all the best. Shabbat Shalom.